Hi YouTube. I had another video done for last week, but when I watched it to edit it, it was just such a downer that I decided, screw it. I'm going to wait till I have something happy to say. So that'll be this video. A few updates. After my last video, my old friend did contact me again, and so I followed some of the excellent advice of my viewers and actually asked her about what happened. And she claims to have no knowledge of it and that it was all her mother's doing. So, not sure if I buy that completely, but at least she did have the good grace to apologize. And it was 20 years ago, so okay. I don't have any illusions that our friendship's ever going to be what it once was, or really that it's ever going to be more than a few random messages here and there, but ever again. But I did manage to say to her that nothing we were ever taught about the world or about worldly people is actually true. And she did not disagree with me. She said that she envies my freedom. But it's sad, we all have the same freedom. She has it. She's just not using it. My mother has recovered enough to be as mean as ever. For this year, she's very conflicted about the holidays, and I'm not sure if that's because of the advancing of the dementia or what it is. She is very lonely, and I think that she wants to take part in the celebrations that are going on there, but then she feels very guilty because she wants to, so that just makes her meaner. I don't know, but one of her elders was actually visiting when I was there, came in while I was there, and I watched her give him this little piece of paper, and I was like, what is going on? Yeah, she's bedridden in a nursing home, can't even roll over in the bed by herself, and she's turning in time. I don't know who she's preaching to, but I feel ever so sorry for her poor roommate. Anyway, today's video is about that biggest of big deal holidays, the one we've all been waiting for, some of us our entire lives. You guessed it, Christmas. You know how I feel about this. And probably you already know that Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate Christmas. And the primary reasons that we always gave to people who asked were, number one, it has pagan origins, like every other possible celebration that you could come up with. Well, Christmas does have pagan origins, most notably Saturnalia, which was the ancient Roman festival of the god Saturn, and included a lot of the elements that we currently have in Christmas, with the addition of gambling and feasting and gift giving, all of it. So it actually sounds fun. But I think if we're going to have to reject everything with pagan origins, we might as well go ahead and reject Christianity too, out of hand, because, I mean, if you look at the parallels between the Jesus narrative and the Persian god Mithras or the Egyptian god Horus, pagan, who was here first? Anyway, the second reason that we always gave people was, well, Jesus wasn't even born on December 25th. Okay, well, I can actually agree with that because, but I would argue that Jesus, as he was taught to me, wasn't actually born at all. So what's the point? The third reason that we often gave to people for why we didn't celebrate was a little shady and actually closer to the real reason why the Witnesses don't celebrate, in my opinion. We would say worldly people go into massive debt to afford Christmas. No, they don't. Trust me on that. But we said we don't need to do that because we have the truth. Well, okay then. Like every other fun celebration we weren't allowed to celebrate, I suspect that the real reasons for the prohibition of Christmas is because the Watchtower Society wants the money that would have been spent on gifts and stuff to go to them. And also, like everything else, is a great way to isolate and separate the witnesses from each other and the rest of the world. Most of the witnesses are either shocked to learn that early witnesses did celebrate Christmas, or else they kind of smile about it in that isn't that cute kind of way that they do about all the new light. And the very concept of new light just is amazing to me. I'm shocked that the very idea of that doesn't wake more people up or cause people to kind of stop and think about what they're getting into. Um, it never sat very well with me that the Almighty God couldn't get it right the first time if he was so great. Like, why would new light be necessary? But anyway, that's another subject. So the fourth thing that I would say, if I wasn't feeling particularly preachy that day, was just, you know what? It's against my religion. Sorry. Um, but Christmas was always a particularly difficult spot for me and my sister when we were kids. So my first real exposure to Christmas or Christmas related stuff was when I was very small. My sister had started school and I was still at home. And I remember that she and I shared a room and we had these bunk beds. She had the top bunk and I had the bottom one. And we would talk to each other at night, but it was pretty much the only time when we weren't fighting like animals. And this was when I was really little. So every night my sister would reach her arm down between the top bunk and the wall, and I would reach my foot up, and she would grab my toe, and she would pull my toe until it would pop, kind of like the noise like snapping your fingers, but with my toes. And we'd do this, and she would pull and pull and pull, and every time she pulled it, we would say, don't, like very quietly until we were able to make that popping noise. And then when we made the noise, we would get to say, "Di-ont." So if you don't Di-ont. And after we got to say Di-ont, then she would sing me whatever song they were singing in kindergarten or first grade or whatever. So it happened that we were playing this ridiculous game that we made up one December, and she sang me Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer one night. Well, I loved it and begged her to sing it anytime our parents weren't listening. Like that was actually, we had this secret now. Well, one night we had played our game and we were singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer very quietly to ourselves together after lights out. And she was in her top bunk holding onto my big toe, and I was on my bottom bunk with my foot up in the air. And my mother happened to walk down the hallway and hear Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. We got in so much trouble. You would have thought that we had committed some kind of unspeakable crime. I mean, we got spanked for real for singing a song. It was just a song. It doesn't even have any bad words in it. But yeah, we got spanked for anything. Anyway, I can remember after I started school that there was just this agony of sitting out in the hallway during the Christmas parties. Even though we had been carefully conditioned and indoctrinated to respond to every Merry Christmas greeting with this totally Debbie Downer witness about why it's better not to celebrate, how Santa Claus isn't real, blah, blah, blah. But it was still very much like being punished to have to sit in the hallway while the rest of the class had fun. Now, my mother finally started letting us stay home the last few days before winter break, but I suspect it was because she figured out that my sister would celebrate as hard as she could if she had the opportunity, while I might be obedient and sit in the hallway and cry to myself. My sister would be telling her teachers that nobody's ever really going to know if she stayed in the classroom during the party. And I mean, really, what would it hurt if she had a cupcake? She wouldn't tell Mom if the teacher didn't tell. And my sister had the right idea, as it turns out. And coming back after winter break sucked too, man, because everybody talked about what they did for Christmas, what gifts they got. And it was really very tiresome to have to tell everybody that you didn't get anything, you didn't do anything special. Even worse was if you'd been out in service the whole time, which is what we usually had to do. I remember one year, I think it was probably fourth or fifth grade, this boy in my class was looking at me the first day back and going, "What were you doing at my house?" I said, "I didn't know it was your house. It's not like I came there on purpose." And then everybody kind of had to know all about it. And so I tried to make a good witness out of it, but it was so embarrassing. I mean, I was now the kid who randomly showed up at people's houses uninvited during the holidays, and I didn't get anything for Christmas either. Another year, some kid asked me what I did that was so bad that Santa Claus wouldn't bring me anything. Well, I got molested without two witnesses. No, I didn't say that. But seriously, I started explaining about Santa Claus not being real, and then the teacher came and shut down the conversation really quick. So, y'all, it sucked. It sucked out loud. Every part of it sucked. It would have been different if our culture as witnesses had something to compensate for it within our tradition, like our own holiday of some type or something. I mean, we didn't even have a tradition. There was nothing that we could make nothing out of it. There was nothing but boring, tasteless, cardboard business meetings and droning talks and awful singing. There wasn't anything that created any kind of community or brought us together in any way. Sad but true. So the first time I ever celebrated Christmas, I was 18 years old, and I went to Florida to visit my sister who had left the truth a few years before. And it was kind of uncomfortable and awkward, but it was fun, especially watching my niece, who was 4 years old at the time, open presents and sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That same year, one of my friends at school gave me this thing. It is a baby's first Christmas ornament. Look, I still have it. If you're watching, I still have it. That was probably 1995, I think. Anyway, I had my first Christmas tree that was mine at my house when I was 23. And I remember my crazy cat knocked it over like 3 times that year, but it was pretty cool still. He was batting Christmas balls around the house and stuff. I've come a long way since then. I have a quite extensive collection of Christmas crap now. And my husband and I have created some of our own traditions, especially since the kids were born. We make boatloads of cookies, and we put up an obnoxious number of Christmas lights. We have 2 Christmas trees. Next year, we'll probably have 3 because we have room in the new house, and the kids have such a good time setting them up every year. We do take the kids to visit Santa Claus and get their pictures taken, although my oldest son does have some really interesting ideas about who Santa Claus is. Because when he was about 3, my husband, when my oldest son was about 3, not my husband dressed up as Santa Claus to do pictures for all the kids at the preschool. And one of the older kids told Robert, my son, "That's your dad. That's your dad, Robert." And Robert really kind of didn't know if that was his dad or not, so he kept staring at him and like giving him these looks the whole time. Well, somehow through this experience, Robert decided in his little mind that Les was Santa. Like, not just for pictures and not just for our family, but for everybody. So he thinks that my husband is actually Santa Claus. So after that, anytime one of the other kids made him mad or something, he would say, "I'm going to tell my daddy and you're not going to get anything for Christmas." Or, randomly throughout the year, Robert would just kind of nudge his dad and say, "Hey, Daddy, what do we want for Christmas?" He's a funny kid. So this year, I got a call from the after-school teacher at his school saying that some little jerk on the bus told all the kindergartners that Santa Claus isn't real. I bet it was a Jehovah's Witness kid. So she said that Robert gave this look that we like to call the eyebrow in my house. It's kind of like, and he says, "He is so real." Now, I'm just waiting because I know it's only a matter of time before the teacher's going to call me and start asking me why Robert believes that his father is Santa Claus. My kids love Christmas. They love picking out gifts for each other. They love picking out gifts for us. They love the lights and the food and the traditions. They love gifts, yeah, because who doesn't? But that's really secondary. If you ask Harrison what he wants for Christmas, he just says a present. Nothing specific. He just likes the whole idea. The kids, they wrote letters to Santa Claus this year, and I was proud of both of them because Both of them asked that Santa Claus bring something nice for their brother, which I thought was sweet. And Harrison even said, I'll even help Daddy rip the paper off of his presents. Christmas is fun, y'all. It's good. It's good for families, regardless of your mythology of choice. It's not some big test or some choice you have to make that's going to alter the future of mankind. It's just a holiday. My opinion is that you should celebrate with your family and friends every single chance you get. So, with that in mind, this year is the first year that I'll have a house full of my ex-Jehovah's Witness relatives for Christmas, just like we did Thanksgiving. For some of them, it'll be their first or second Christmas ever, and it's going to be magical, and I intend to enjoy every single second of it. You should do the same. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Joyous Kwanzaa, Joe Saturnalia.